By the end of this lesson, you should be able to read input from the standard input stream. Right, guys, I want to go back to the first program that we wrote.
The greetings program.
That's the one. Now remember, you changed it to greet yourself. Well, today, we're going to find out how to change it so that when a user inputs their name, the program greets them with their own name. So, we'll use what we've learned so far to solve that problem. Let's start with the program that we want to write. We want to input the user's name from the keyboard.
Didn't you say the system.in object represents the keyboard and only reads bytes?
That's right. But there's another class with the name InputStreamReader. Objects of that class convert a stream of bytes into a stream of characters. So, we can create an InputStreamReader object by writing new InputStreamReader. But we need to give it the object that represents the stream of bytes to work with. And we do this by sending system.in as a parameter to the constructor.
Shouldn't we save the new object's address in an object variable?
You're right, Morua, we must. Otherwise, it's going to get lost. So, we must declare an object variable of the InputStreamReader type. Let's call it reader. Now, we can create the InputStreamReader object and assign its address in memory to the reader object variable like this. But this object still doesn't do what we want because it'll only give us one character at a time, and it would be better to have a whole string. However, there is another class with the name BufferedReader we can use. Objects of this class can collect the individual characters from an InputStreamReader object and give us one whole line of input at a time. So, we must create one of these objects. First, we must declare an object variable to store its address, and we do it like this. Its type is BufferedReader, so let's call it keyboard. Then, we create the BufferedReader object, giving it the reader object to work with, and assign its address equals to keyboard. Now, we have an object that we can use to read the lines of input from the keyboard. And we do that by calling the readLine method like this. It needs no parameters, but we must still put in the round brackets even though they're empty. This method returns a line of input to us as a string object.
String objects. Are strings also objects?
Indeed they are, Kamo. In Java, all strings are objects, but not all programming languages see strings like that. With languages like Delphi, for instance, strings are more like primitive types, so it's very important to remember that in Java, all strings are objects.
That means we can't do arithmetic with strings, but we can use methods.
Good point, Morwa. However, there is one operator that we can use with strings, the plus operator. It looks like we're doing arithmetic, but in actual fact, we're not. But unfortunately, we'll have to leave that for a little bit later. Getting back to what we were talking about, since the keyboard.readLine results in a string object, we must have a string object variable in which to store this string object. So, let's declare an object variable of type string and call it input. Now we can store the address of the string object returned by keyboard.readLine in input like this. And we get the code we need to read a line of input from the keyboard.
That's a lot of code just to read a line of input.
I agree, but we can declare the variables and initialize them in one statement. For example, instead of writing int count, count gets the value 20, we can write int count gets the value 20. So, we can condense this code to this.
I've been typing this code into my program while you've been talking, but when I try to compile it, it says cannot find symbol and it points to the input stream reader.
That's because we didn't tell the compiler where to find the classes input stream reader or buffered reader.
But you said they were in the Java library.
They are, Now, the Java library is organized into what we call packages. Now, these are collections of related classes. We have to tell the Java compiler in which package it should look for the classes input stream reader and buffered reader. So we say import the classes in the package, and we do that with the import statements. These two classes are in a package with the name java.io. And that's all in small letters, huh? Right, Kamal, type this. Import java.io.star. Now that's the statement as the first line in your file before your comment, and then compile your program again.
Okay, it still gives me an error. It says unreported exception, java.io.io exception must be declared or caught to be thrown, and it's pointing to the read line. Did I spell it wrong or something?
No. Now something could have gone wrong when you read input, and the Java compiler is letting you know. Java calls something that goes wrong or something out of the ordinary an exception. Now the compiler insists that you take notice of exceptions and do something about them. Now you can either catch the exception or you can throw an exception. At this stage, we're only going to throw exceptions. This means we're saying, yes, I know that something's wrong, but I don't want to try and fix it. Pass the exception on to the Java virtual machine. When you pass an exception on or throw an exception to the Java virtual machine, it outputs an error message to the standard output and shuts down your program.
So how do I throw an exception?
Well, you must add throws IO exception to the end of the main method header. Now, you can save and compile your program again, and this time I think you'll find it'll be correct.
Can I run it?
Well, we're not quite finished yet, but yeah, do it and see what it does.
It's still doing nothing.
Well, Kamal, it's waiting for you to type something on the keyboard. Now look down below in the status bar. There's the message, status running user program.
Okay, so I have typed in Father Christmas, but it's still doing nothing.
You must press enter before it'll read the line.
Oh. There, it's done. But it still says, good day, Kamal.
I think I know why. I've changed my program now. We've read the input into the variable named input, but we don't do anything with it.
Well done, Morwa. First of all, let's change the name of the string variable. We call a message like this a prompt, since we are prompting the user to enter some input. On the line before string name gets the value, type system.out.print, and in the brackets, in double quotes, type please enter your name. Add a colon and a space after name. In your system.out.print line statement, delete your name. Change the print line to print. Now, add a new system.out.print line statement with name inside the brackets. Save your program, then compile and run it.
Hey, that's cool. Now it says, good day, Father Christmas.
Well, we've come a long way today, guys. It's time for today's task. Write a program called Story that will prompt the user to enter a color, a vegetable, and an animal. Use these 3 words in a short story. For example, if the user enters green, potato, and pig, the story could be something like, after my sister ate the potato, she turned green and hugged the pig. Now, remember guys, it's important to be creative with that task. I'm looking forward to hearing some interesting stories. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye, Murray.